Ready when you are, CB. Do I start in Canada or Mexico?
We didn't do Animal Kingdom.
Are we really AK haters?
From New York, Dillo's Diz Live, starring Frank and Jen Dillo. This is Mr. Snidillo in studio along with music by Matt Harvey, inviting you to join the Dillos and their guests while they tangent and wax nostalgic. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here's Frank and Jen.
This is Theme Park Thursday with Dillo's Diz. She is Jen.
Hello.
And I am Frank, and we are recording this episode on Theme Park Thursday Eve over at DillosDizResort.com. DillosDizResort.com, of course, that's our Patreon, with memberships beginning as low as $1 per month. But you can join for free to get in on some hashtag Dillo's Madness. More about that along the way as we discuss for the next hour or so. We got at least 4 topics to discuss here. Hopefully we can all get that in 1 hour.
I think we had some topics last week too, and I don't know what happened last week. So, we'll see what happens this week.
Jen was over at DillosDizResort.com on Tuesday night sharing her travel story.
The worst.
She's still in recovery mode. This morning, and I was going to tell you this offline, but I'll tell you this as part of the podcast. We have an airline worker in my abode here, not in my home, but in the general building. So I was discussing whether they were flying over the weekend, which they were not, and so I mentioned your travels, and specifically what was mentioned is that the gate check people of the airline that you were partaking in this past weekend are not employees of that airline. They're third party.
Oh,
so
the
gate people. So so they're not like airline trained employees in the company. They are third party. And I was like, oh, that's brand new information.
That is very interesting. That's great. It's working out great. It's really working for them. So it's fantastic. Have you recovered sleep-wise from your weekend staying here with my children as we tried to get home?
That was yes. Saturday night I slept fine. Sunday night when I was home alone with the children to play into your Home Alone theme for the weekend. That I did not sleep as well. But so be it. I would say maybe one more night of sleep and I will feel recovered. Because yesterday I was like, well, I'm still not good. Not good.
That's how we were feeling too, because Monday, I think we were still going on adrenaline because of everything we had to do on Monday. And yesterday we were just like, oh God, I feel like we're feeling it more today because now we're back to normalcy or whatever that is.
Well, what is normalcy? So overall, and I think one of the ways that we were able to relax on Sunday evening was we were talking about Walt Disney World and the Disney cruise and the like, and what the 9-year-old in particular was like, let's play Would You Rather. So there was a lot of Would You Rather for Disney attractions.
Nice. Should have secretly recorded that.
I know. I thought about it. I was like, where is the phone? Where is it?
Yeah. I did hear, however, the 7-year-old said, Uncle Frankie doesn't know how to do a heart with his hands, and you have to teach him because you're his sister.
Of all the things.
Can you not do heart hands?
No, I don't understand. I don't know which way to.
You can't do this. First of all, this is old anyway. We're old if we do this, because I think it's like.
Is that the easy way? I don't know. Look, I'm just making circles the whole time.
It's like, because I think me and her did it to each other or something. And she was like, Frankie doesn't know.
I feel like my arms don't go. Can you do it again, please? No, I know this is good for an audio podcast. Like that seems so. No, like it still looks like an oval. No,
First
and
of
my
all,
hands.
can you hold up your thumbs? We're already off. Hold up
Yeah,
your thumb. There you go. You got the thumb thing that whatever this is,
yeah,
whatever
whatever.
weird thumb thing that this is, we have in our family. I don't
Yeah,
know. That's a Mamadillo thing. This is just my thumb normal. I'm not bending it that way. The
yeah.
same. All right. So you should be able to make a nice bottom of the heart there, and then you
Okay.
just do this.
No, my hands don't. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. I mean, it's better. I guess that's better.
Turn these in.
My hands hurt when I do that. It's not natural. When everyone does it, it's very natural. See, I can't do it naturally. I got to be like, let me force my hand.
Here's my triangle, everybody.
Here's the church. Here's the steeple. Open
Can
it.
you
I can
even do that?
I can do this. I can do this thing.
All right.
I can do that. But this is again audio podcast.
Goodness, yeah. All right. Stay tuned to YouTube and TikTok for those clips.
We had a good run with guests for a while, and then we go back to the chat episodes for 2 consecutive weeks, and we don't know where we are.
Okay, crazy. Lexi is saying, lift up your elbows when you do it. Maybe that'll help.
No, I feel like I can make a heart better with if I just use my elbows than if
my God. Do the YMCA. What are you doing?
Well, welcome to the chat episodes, everybody. We have a main topic or subject. Again, whether or not we'll get to it, because we also have to incorporate last week's main topic or subject, I think.
Right.
But this weekend, March, I believe it's 17th, but it could be the 16th. Let me double check on that. Is the official opening was the opening date of Test Track in 1999. So this weekend marks 25 years officially of the Test Track attraction being open in Epcot. I slowed down considerably to say Test Track attraction.
Oh, that's hard.
I heard it in my head and it was like, slow down, Long Island boy. Test Track attraction.
Mm-hmm.
Drop
a quarter of the water.
Hippopotamus. Throwing a Big Bad, right? That's right. Is that from Big Daddy? What is
Big
that
Daddy?
from?
Yeah. Hip hop.
Hip hop. Yeah. It's a whole conversation there we can't have. But yes, Lexi has a comment here. Is twice as old as Test Track. Well, that is one of the topics where we have here on this recording today is a little 50th birthday thing to discuss. Are we going to start with that, or are we going to end with that?
The birthday?
The birthday?
I think we should start with it. We've tortured the resort guests for too long.
So back in September of 2023, remember September of 2023? Remember that it was like 6 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
We had a lovely meetup weekend with resort guests. Some special guest stars dropped in, and we went to the not so scary Halloween party for the very first time.
Mm-hmm.
Jen and I, at least.
Yeah.
We had our Ted Lasso uniforms on, and it was lovely. So immediately everyone was like, "When's the next one?"
Yeah.
Last year's meetup, the first ever unofficial official Dillo's Diz meetup.
Yeah.
It kind of happened like organically, which we love. We love the organic.
Yes.
We don't like we're going to plan this and this is going to happen and this is going to be the thing. So with this one, immediately there was like, well, now there's different expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Because the first meetup was wildly successful.
Yeah.
So then this angle came in around my birthday in October. I was like, oh, Frank's 50th birthday. Mm-hmm. Well, I guess that was actually started at Pedals with the 50s.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was kind of that suggestion. And then as it lead up to my birthday, then it was like, oh, well, fine, Frank for 50 kind of thing. Yes. I was like, you're never going to see me again when I turn, like, it's over. Goodbye, everyone.
I'm going into hiding.
The podcast is over. Everything is over. Goodbye forever.
Yes.
And
Lexi is calling us out. It was you that started the when's the next one. You guys said it first.
We did? No. Impossible.
Part of Dilloing is that when something goes so well, we're like, ooh, don't mess with it. Don't mess with it. Just never do it again.
Well, it's also a Papa Dillo thing, right? When we went to the Hamptons, like for the first time ever last summer, you know, he was reluctant.
Yes.
And then once he was in it, he's
Yeah.
like, well, we got to do this again.
Do this.
Like we haven't, it's been an hour.
Yeah. Yep. Go on.
So then as we, I mean, this is the journey, right? I'm taking you on the journey. Yeah, thanks a lot, pedal sessions. So then as we move towards the holidays, then it starts with the discussions. And this could all be revisionist history right now. I don't know. I'm just trying to tell the story. We start, oh, well, what about Very Merry Christmas Party? What about Jollywood instead of Not So Scary? And I don't know, Jen, the last time you were around Disney at the holidays, but for me, it's been
a while.
You know, I think they started when you and I went early November. You saw some of it. I saw it later that month again.
Yeah.
But that was the last time we've been in the parks at the holidays. So 2018. So, you know, more than 5 years.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, this makes sense.
I'm just going to show photos while you talk.
Oh, that's it's a good one in Olga's Cantina right there.
Keep going.
So then it was like, oh, well, let's try to work on this. Now, that presented more logistical challenges, I think, overall.
Yep.
And Thanksgiving being later in the month of November. It's the latest it can be on the 28th of November in 2024. Look at these pictures. They're lovely. And so then it became like a debate. Like it just like between, is it going to be the holidays or is it going to be, you know, around the same time frame as the previous one, which we like our tradition and our history and we like doing things the same way. So here we are. And then other things creep in along the way. And other challenges.
Yeah.
When does school start? When like all these things. We last year, I think if Jen and I had to give one hiccup for ourselves personally of the meetup last year, is that it was so close to the beginning of school.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
It was too close.
Yeah.
Here in New York. So we were like, well, we would move it up a little bit. Fast forward two more months. And, you know, we keep coming back to the same thing of, well, September. And I mean, and it could have gone anyway.
Yeah.
Gets to yesterday. And our friend Maz reaches out directly on Twitter.
Yeah.
And it was like, hey, when's the next meetup? Because I know there was conversations happening, you know, on the side.
Yeah.
So I may have been like taking like a 5-minute break at work when I responded to this X tweet and said mid to late September. And I was like, oh, look, I put that out publicly. Let me share this with our friends at DillosDizResort.com. Even though I know that I still inside, I'm like, I gotta get there for the holidays again. When's the thing? So then this launched a all day debate of what and I, you know, finally, because part of this for me also is I have to tell Mrs. Dillo that there is. So I called Mrs. Dillo and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna ask about these, and I had 3 weekends to present to her.
Right.
And one of those 3 weekends was out on her side.
Yeah.
And I was like, great. Now we're down to 2 weekends.
It's a 50-50 who wants to be a millionaire situation.
Right. He just won $1 million. And so then Jen was at the resort on Tuesday night and was like, hey, these are the 2 options. I said, Jen, what kind of feedback did you get? Because I missed the beginning of the stream. And she was like, 0 feedback. And I was like, nobody said like this week. No. Okay.
Yeah.
So I said, all right, put it in the Discord. And everyone in the Discord was like, whatever's best for you, which is our favorite answer. We don't want to make decisions. I mean, this is why you're listening to us, because you also are like us. And they're like, whatever you want to do, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Whatever's best. So it came down to these 2 weekends. The weekend of September 13th and the weekend of December 5th. And those were the 2. And I know for me, as much as the holidays thing is a pull, I can't personally commit to that one necessarily. I was like, well, if I put it in, I put it in. But with Thanksgiving being so late, I know how my office schedule goes that I can't forecast that far out to say for sure that I wouldn't have to support that.
Right.
That being said, it was still on the table for me. So I'm going to just pass it to Jen because I just spoke for a long time. I know she's reading all the comments. So before we make an official announcement,
torturing everyone.
I want to pass it back to Jen.
I don't know that I have much to say. I don't think we should go through all the comments, but these comments are cracking me up. I think right now the resort is feeling a little gaslit, quite honestly, by but also the point has been made. It's your birthday. It should be your decision as to when we're going. But yeah, there's, they're all cracking me up of just when we're going. When we said we were going to have a decision, I think Jeffers pointed out that in January, we're like, we'll have a decision at the end of this month. Here we are in March. We keep pushing up. So I think everyone has waited long enough. I think you need to just make the announcement. Do it. Oh, Lexi, good point. You've lived 50 years. You decide.
And so I would say part of this too is, right, do I want to go before I turn 50, which is at the end of October, or do I want to go after I turn 50 when, like, maybe the anxiety has subsided? So that was part of it. And then the other thing that Jen does yesterday is she sends me this, update about ticket prices.
Yeah.
Which is, there's the summer deal. And we'll do the exact details in a second. But, 3 days, 3 parks, leave the Magic Kingdom out of it for a certain price. And then 4 days with the Magic Kingdom for a certain price. And we're like, whoa, there's that with a potential party. Or, we could do that in September. Where then we potentially could be at all 4 parks in September because of this ticket deal. We know most of you have annuals. That's just fine. That's fine. We're okay with that. But then I was also like, well, before we go on the cruise in August, we also could take advantage of this ticket deal. Do we just take the advantage of the ticket deal then and do December? So this was like the debate of like, and we know it's hot in September. We know.
Yeah. Yes.
And so there's also, like, at first we were like, oh, we should just do all night things. We'll do Hoop-de-Doo and do Not So Scary. But now there's this ticket deal. It's like, well, now we would be potentially, in the parks during the day again. But an Animal Kingdom day on the first half of a day and then a Not So Scary at night would fit in perfectly to our Animal Kingdom half-day life.
With a break in between, there's still time. So because you have plenty of time.
So much time.
Right.
So I think unofficially, we can say that the Meetup Find Frank for 50. I just call it the sequel because I don't want to reference my birthday anymore.
Right, obviously.
The Meetup weekend will be the weekend of Friday, September 13th, 2024.
There it is, everybody. There it is, everybody. There it is. Yeah. Do we have exact dates? We don't, but it's basically around that time, those days there. Maybe a long weekend situation.
Correct. I want to remind everyone that last year we picked one day. We were like, it will be on Saturday, September 9th. We'll be at #AlwaysMGM. And then Not So Scary came in with that schedule. Like it all just pieced together organically.
Right.
So Not So Scary, if scheduled for Friday the 13th, would certainly be on the table.
That would be good.
And then if we have this 3-day, 3-park situation, then we would determine which parks on which days. I don't want to give exact details outside. I mean, Not So Scary is going to be pretty clear. So, but we want to do a little more resort centric.
Yeah.
So if you're a member of DillosDizResort.com, however you may join, we're going to pile the details over there going forward.
Yeah.
Not So Scary. We're going to end up talking about Not So Scary. We're going to, all the things. So that's going to be pretty clear. But which park on which days and whatever may come up between now and the weekend of September 13th, then and what, if anything, will be part of Find Frank for 50. That will be all at DillosDizResorts.com.
Right. Yes.
Jeffers is booked. He did it. He pressed pay.
He had it in the cart. He was just waiting. We will need to know the resort. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, are we gonna probably push for pop?
I think we will maintain pop.
Yeah,
yes. I would say we're gonna go for pop.
How can we change that at this point? I mean, if anything, it pedals.
And where it might listen, last year y'all went to Epcot on the Sunday, and we were on a plane, maybe flying to Providence, Rhode Island, or not. We didn't go to Providence, Rhode Island, but that was depressing for us. So we need to determine what the overlap looks like. So in my brain, Thursday through Sunday, could it be Wednesday night through Sunday morning? It could be. I'll just say that out loud. We don't have that part of it. We can say definitively Friday the 13th, should there be a Not So Scary Halloween party that day. And Jen's got a headache over there. I don't know. She's got the anxiety overwhelming. Jen's
writing down all the things we have to do during this meetup, and I'm like, figuring this all out.
I have not said any of this, but again, this is like part of the point was like this ticket deal helped kind of put it over the edge, where it's like, all 4 parks. Jeffers might have to wait another year for Hoop-de-Doo, but
I don't know. I don't know. Might be able to squeeze it in.
But all 4 parks, are we going to get to Jelly Rolls when we can go to all 4 parks? I don't know.
It's on my list. So many things.
So we put that there. This will all develop over time now. But, in some ways, I'm glad if we had picked later in the year and then this ticket deal came up, we would have been like, man, we could have done all 4 parks for the meetup. And, listen, I know part of what everyone will be excited about is potentially us at the Animal Kingdom for a meetup. So listen, we want to give people what they want. And that is, part of like last year, what was really great was like, we did the toenail story. We did we did, some things that were, very us and
Dillo-centric.
Very Dillo-centric.
Like toenails.
So we're like, what are we going to do? But us at the Animal Kingdom, of course, is like a running theme / running gag of this show. So how could we not do you're shaking your head? Oh, there's people.
Sorry,
commenting.
I'm shaking my head at Lexi. Lexi, I am promising you this now. Listen, we will go to the Animal Kingdom probably as we figure this out, maybe for half of a day, because we're done by like 1 o'clock. Boop, done. Yeah. All day in AK? I no, that will not be on the agenda, Lexi. I'm sorry.
No, and as long as there's a not so, I mean, again, as like slowly leaking things to people who may not be guests of DillosDizResort.com, but I would we should all presume that depending on our travel schedule, that early part. I know, and Lewis is like, no, I don't want to go to a park, but I have to be at Not So Scary that night. I would assume that the AK day would be split with the Not So Scary party.
Yeah.
But understandably, if it can work out, that we get to take it easy during the day before we go to Not So Scary, that may be better.
All right. More to come. More to come.
Yeah, there's a lot of good suggestions here that I'm gonna have to go back and read. The resort is on fire. I feel their excitement generating through this chat.
Yes.
And there will be, as mentioned in our one channel, $1 Discord, that there will be a ceremonial coin toss of a penny to kick off. That's my segue into hashtag Dillo's Madness, which is going on at DillosDisResort.com right now. Clearly, how timing is gone, and it's a good thing. It's a happy thing for us that we're really focused on one half of the bracket right now. We're sharing 32 of our stories that are theme park related. We've shared, we've recorded 16 of the stories as of this recording. We've shared a lot of them at the resort right now. We're getting to the part where we will seed, Jen's favorite part, the stories. The value, moderate, and deluxe guests of DillosDisResort.com will support that seeding. They will provide their expert analysis in making those seeds happen. So we're going to focus on that one side first, and then we will attack the other side as to not just overwhelm ourselves and everybody else with these stories. We want to take our time through it. We want to share it with everybody. We're sharing our stories. This all goes back to our interview with Alice Fairfax back last month, who is the author of Tell Your Story and who's a former Disney entertainer. So this all kind of led into the idea for hashtags Dillo's Madness, which you can join for free at DillosDisResort.com. Just go to that website. There's a little button that says join for free. Click that button, make it happen, and join for free. And then you'll likely get all this information about the happenings at DillosDisResort.com along the way.
Yes.
What else? There's so many. There's a lot of announcements. There's a lot of comments in the chat.
We might have to. Maybe we'll stay on after this recording for a couple of minutes to address some things in the chat with the resort, since there's so much happening there.
There's so many questions.
Yes.
On Monday night, we want to shout out Incredicon.
Yes.
We were on their live chat, the Incredit chat, as it were, with a little 90s Con discussion, because this weekend is 90s Con, the third annual 90s Con up in Hartford, Connecticut. And we are looking forward to that. So we'll be around if you're listening to the pod and know that we'll be at 90s Con. We'll be there all day Saturday.
Yes.
And we have a couple of celebrity photo ops prepped, as announced on the Incredit chat. We're going to do a photo op with Marissa Tomei. We're super excited about, and a photo op with the Boy Meets Pod. Is that the name?
God. Pod Meets World. So we will have a photo op with Will Friedle, Ryder Strong, and Danielle Fishel. And this just in, I added 2 more photo ops.
Oh.
Okay. The first one.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
I didn't realize. Breaking news.
I know. Breaking news. First one, I felt like I had to do, because I felt like if I walked away from this con not having a picture with this person, I probably would have regretted it. So I secured a photo op with Mr. Feeney.
Oh, yes.
Nice. We had to do it. I couldn't. The second one, I decided to switch out your birthday present, because I felt like, when are we going to Jersey? Sorry, Adam. When are we going to Jersey to do
that was my birthday present.
I know. We're not even talking about it. We're not putting it on any calendars. We can barely get September figured out. We're not probably going to do that. So I've swapped it out, because there's one photo op at 90s Con that has been available in the previous 2 years and this year as well, that I feel like, we probably should do. It's kind of an iconic thing to do. And I was like, well, maybe this should be it. We should finally do it this year. Do you know what that is?
I'm Well, I don't. You said both years. I wasn't sure if this was a photo op in the first year. Is it a picture with Melissa Joan Hart on the '90s couch?
It is.
Yes.
So a little Clarissa was a big part of our life, and we don't have a picture with Clarissa, Melissa Joan Hart, on the orange couch. Like, what are we doing with our Nickelodeon nostalgia? We need that photo. We now have that photo up as well.
I mean, and just to say, I did go to school with a former cast member.
Yes.
Of Clarissa.
Yeah.
And did multiple shows.
Yes.
With this person, and was was good friends with this person. There is a memory, and I don't know if he was driving or what, that whenever I hear the song Sugar Ray Fly, I picture his car or us in a car going to somebody's birthday at Cheeseburger.
That's so funny. He was in Mama and Papa Dillo's backyard, wasn't he?
That's true. Yes, that flipped you out. That flipped you out in the late '90s there.
What? Yeah. Amazing things. Do you think we'll get to chat about that on the couch, or probably not time for that?
I don't know. There'll be time for that. Yeah, too
bad. So those are more '90s con announcements.
Nice. I like that one.
So
those are good ones. So and to say, I feel like, the '90s con folks, they tried to mix it up. There's a little more variety this year, so we've been trying to really figure out our day.
Yeah.
Where the first year was like all new Mickey Mouse Club or bust.
Yes.
And last year was very Beverly Hills 90210 or bust. And this year we have like, well, is this the year we do this one finally? Is this the year we do that one that we've been putting off because of these other big gets for us?
Yeah.
So that is super exciting to kind of lean into the '90s aspect of like the '90s con, where we were more focused on one television show each of those first couple of times.
Yeah, for sure. Exciting. Do you know what you're wearing?
No, I was gonna wear the thing, but I had to get rid of my flannel. So
what?
Yeah.
Get rid of the flannel.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes what happens with flannel, and maybe it's inexpensive flannel. I don't know. But then all of a sudden, after a while, the shape of it like changes. I don't know. Is it just me? But I feel like it goes from like feeling like it hangs down nice to like all of a sudden you feel like you're wearing a cardboard box. And I don't. And that's like not just like, oh, well, you're getting a little bit larger now, Frank, because you're older. That's like, I remember that in the there was one flannel shirt that lasted me forever that never did it. And it held on until the day it fell apart in my hands.
Yeah.
But the other ones in the early '90s, because everyone wore flannel. I feel like that also happened then. And I feel like maybe they just slowly shrink and then feel more like a box over time rather than do that. So that's a lot of information about flannel.
There goes that. So, yeah. All right. Good.
Battling the sinusitis a week or so, too. Springtime is here in New York City.
Sometimes it is.
It's like 70 degrees this week, and but last Wednesday it was like it was just like torrential rain, and it was like, okay, everything that's been in your sinuses for the winter is coming out of hibernation, and it's been like this for a week.
Speaking of,
so hopefully you can edit out that nice little nose sniffle I did at like the 33-minute mark.
I don't really think I heard it, but I think you muted in time.
I muted in time. That's good. The other night on the Incredicon chat, I was like in constant mute mode.
Oh.
Like mute.
Yeah.
All right. So we're 33 minutes in, which is our norm before we get to the main topic or subject, which is about Test Track. Test Track is celebrating its 25th anniversary officially on March 17th. I didn't know Test Track was Irish, but officially opened on March 17th, 1999. It had a soft opening date of December 19th, 1998. Talking about telling our stories, sharing our stories. This attraction in particular, maybe more so than Animal Kingdom as a whole theme park, was something at hashtag always MGM that we were constantly talking about, people on the interwebs and the social medias talking about how long it took to get Tron open.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you a little story about Test Track.
Yep.
It was announced, I think, and again, it's amazing how this lines up with almost my cast member employment. It was announced in 1995 that World of Motion was closing, and this new attraction, Test Track, was opening. This had to do a lot with the sponsorship for GM
Mm-hmm.
coming to an end. I think either it was post recession or just whatever is happening business wise for them. There was a lot of things happening that part of their cutbacks for their own company was pulling the sponsorship or ending the contract coming to an end, whatever it was. So it was announced that World of Motion was closing. It closed on January 2nd, 1996, which was about, 5 or 6 days after Jen and Mama and Papa Dillo had come down to Orlando to see me perform with Slinky Dog on Christmas Day in 1995, which will be one of the stories in this year's hashtag Dillo's Madness.
Yeah.
Question, because I was working that whole week. It's like one of the busiest weeks of the year. Obviously, I was working every day. Do you remember riding World of Motion one final time during that trip?
I don't know that I remember that specifically. However, I am sure we did. If we knew it was going away, that was a Papadillo favorite. So I feel like it would have been weird if we didn't do that. Seems like we would have.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Horizons, if I recall, I don't think we were prepared for the Horizons closure. I feel like that just like how they did that was very sporadic and I feel like it was not available anymore on a couple of our trips, like in the summertime of that 93 to 95 period. And then it felt like it opened one time briefly.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was around World of Motion's closure that they were like, well, let's bring back Horizons for a little bit. That's what's in my memory. I probably would have to deep dive on that a little bit more.
Yeah.
But when World of Motion, right, it was a couple of things, right? It felt very World's Fair like. It had that, dark ride, history, classic Epcot attraction.
Yeah.
It had the narrator on the attraction was Gary Owens, who is the announcer on Laugh-In. So that was like, we like Laugh-In. Mom and Papa Dillo were like, and it just had that kind of storytelling that the scenes were just great. And a look into the future, and then you go into the little display area after with the future cars, and that we're still waiting for. Maybe some of those were electric. We wouldn't know the difference.
We wouldn't know. How would one know that?
So the first thing that they started doing, and this is what I remember in 96 probably, is they started building that outside track. And so then you kind of got like this sense of, oh, well, the structure is changing. And, and you kind of knew that it was going to take you through the testing process of an automobile. So it doesn't really go into it here on my fancy Wikipedia pages. But I think it was supposed to take 29 months to be completed. So that's 2.5 years, everyone. That's 1.5 years less than Tron, which Tron, by the way, to me is still built into areas that they probably needed to check the foundation of that a lot. So, when they start thinking about this beyond Frontierland, don't expect it to happen overnight. It's been a swamp back there forever.
Yeah, forever.
And one of the, so that would have put it at like mid 98. Now people are like, well, they were trying to focus on the animal kingdom. Well, they were, whatever the reason, it kept getting pushed back. But really it was because of that there were issues, technologically speaking. I think it caused some they had to redesign some things. They had to redo some things. It just overall wasn't working out. So it became this running joke of Test Track never going to open, even when it got to this test, this test phase, no pun intended, in December of '98, that it was, it was hardly ever available. As a cast member, you'd go over and go, "Oh, let's try to check out," and then be like, "It's not open right now. They're working on some things," and so that was a running gag. So once it finally opened, and again, when we talk about Tron or we talk about the length of the things take, it takes time to do these things.
Yeah.
They built MGM Studios in a year. Well, maybe that's why people have a hard time trying to figure out how the structure of the land. Why can't we figure out this thematic? Why isn't it clear? Well, they built it in a year. They were just like, let's just put it all together, and then we'll crowbar things in along the way. But do you remember the first time that you rode Test Track?
No, because of the running gag of how many times it would be shut down when we would go to it.
Yep.
Or sometimes how long the line would be.
Right.
Because that line from Test Track would stretch under those breezeways by Innovations East sometimes. And the line would come out almost to the fountain.
Right.
And everyone would be standing there as the ride was shut down. And they would just be like, we're just waiting for it to come back up. And it was like, well, we're not getting on this line. So there was so much of that. And that happened for so long. I mean, and who knows, maybe it was only 2 trips. It feels like 1,000 trips we went on. This was always the case. But it felt like a really long time before we finally got to actually ride it. And so I don't remember like being on it the very first time.
Yeah. I only know this because of who I was dating at the time. That I'm pretty sure I have a photo, like ride photo. You remember when they would print the photos and they would put them in the thing? And it would I would guess it was summer of 1998. And I would say it was, now that I think about it, because I feel like my hair in that photo, now I'm going to have to find the photo.
Yes.
Is very, colored in a way for that. It's like the Mr. Bean time. So I don't know, but that doesn't seem to line up with your trips. But I'll have to think about that one of why my hair looked that way in those pictures.
Yeah. Interesting.
In 2012, the changeover came from how the tests were, how the tests on Test Track were to kind of the updated version that we're familiar with now. So just to say, it's been 12 years since that update, where it from opening to that first update was 13 years.
Yeah,
What?
None of that makes sense to me.
It's been new like this for 5 years.
Yeah.
And do you prefer Test Track version 1 or Test Track version 2?
I don't think I have really been through the proper queue for version 2.
Right.
Because I think I've done single rider for so long that I don't think I've seen that, which I feel like that's where a lot of the change came, because you can like build your own car and do all the things. I feel like Mr. Snidillo did it at one point, maybe on a trip with work people or something. But so I don't know that I've done like the proper queue, but obviously I prefer the OG version, obviously. But also when I, going back to the mid 2000s, when I worked there, I probably, again, did single rider a lot. Like, I don't know the last time I really stood on a proper queue either way of Test Track, but I probably did it once in a while if I was with people. I had found some photos recently. I mean, here's a picture of me, OPP, and Mr. Snidillo in the back row there on it. So I probably waited on the queue line for that at some point. But yeah, and that was probably the OG version, because I'm thinking of the time frame of it. But yeah, and just the the sound of Test Track is part of my working there experience because you would go cut back there for the backstage area and stuff. But yeah, I mean, I don't think I've heard it's cool that you can build the car and do all the things. So I guess if you're into it, it's
Right,
good
would
for you.
Mr. Snidillo, as a car aficionado, say that the second version is better than the first version?
Yeah, I think he liked that aspect of it. So he was a fan of it. I don't know why I didn't do. Why didn't I do that? He had to do it without me. Yeah.
The 8-year-old road test track in summer 2021. Now again, coming out of so ride times were less, so we could all go as a group. We were with our friend Ayali Flores, and so that's the only time I've done the car design.
Yeah,
and I shrug, but yeah, I think in the 15 years before that, I was single rider. And I feel like that's one of the big what has Test Track provided for Walt Disney World guests that benefits all of us today? It is the single rider. I don't know if there was a single rider before. I mean, you would do is there one guest? I just need one. You know, you would do that on every attraction back in the day. But I don't know if there was a dedicated single rider line until Test Track, right? Because Everest has one.
I'm a big fan of single rider lines.
Oh, it's the best.
I see Lewis is saying the queue for the first version was really wild, but made a lot less thematic sense than 2. Us being crash test dummies made little sense, but the car we are in being high tech in 2 doesn't make that much sense. Building the car is okay, but it lets you build insane vehicles that aren't based in reality, so it makes little sense. Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's what I noticed too, being in the newer version. Like I didn't feel as immersed in the newer one. And I have been on the ride too sometimes when most things are not working properly and you're just sort of going through this darkness ride until you get outside. I'm like, well, I don't know that really did much, but okay. Yeah.
The crash test dummy gag, you know, especially in the pre-show, I never really thought about it till right now, but I was like, oh, did people like repeat riders grow tired of the gag over time? So that was like feedback you started to hear, or because it's funny the first time, and it was funny to hear people react to it.
Yes,
you know, if like you've been on it many times, and then you're in there with somebody who had not been on it before, they were like, oh, like you know, that's a big thing. I know, and we've kind of gone through this even in the history of this podcast. I feel like the reaction to the Muppet Vision pre-show has, or even the show itself, has increased substantially over the years. Whether it's everyone's discovering the Muppets on Disney Plus, I don't know what the reasons are, but you know, people who were younger are now parents, and whatever that is. I feel like there's more response to that. Where there was a period of time where you would hear the random chuckles when you were seeing Muppet Vision for the 20,000th time. But yeah, I mean, I wonder about the gag of.
Oh, you just muted yourself, I think. Yep, there you go. Oh, all right. As Frank fixes his sound, I did find 2 other pictures that I would share. So if you're listening to the audio version of this podcast, I think we're going to drop the video on our YouTube channel today that we're recording right now at dillosdizresort.com. We're going to put it on our YouTube channel over at youtube.com/dillosdiz. So you'll be able to see these quick 2 photos. But there was a time in 2009, 2006 that I got to go to the GE office space, event space, whatever it is. That was after I had worked there a few years. And so I got to kind of look down at Test Track. So here we have the car there speeding by, and that's another shot of it. And then this is the view of Mission Space from there as well. But yeah, I think we also, as a family, and hard to let go of change or accept change, I should say, we appreciated that there were the quote unquote cars of the future when you came out of the ride, that stayed from World of Motion, and that that didn't go away. I do feel like over the years, they're not futuristic. I'm like, what is that? A sedan that I can buy right now? Why is that here? It's not futuristic.
Yeah.
Nope. Fix your mic. You're on speaker. Yeah. So I appreciated the nostalgic hold on the after portion of the ride there.
Yeah, I think that, and they were all kind of good like that too. Even like the Spaceship Earth one, back in the day. I don't know how I feel about the interactive games they got post show these days, but I do, especially with Test Track, feel that it's a little less than. Obviously, we don't want to talk about the image works at all, but in terms of what you would walk into, the land and the seas still kind of have that vibe of old Epcot.
Yes.
That I like so well.
Good times.
But would you say at 64.9 miles per hour that the climax, as it were, of Test Track is still one of the best in terms of Disney attractions?
Oh yeah. I that's the thing. Even on times I was on the ride and it was all dark until you get outside, like that's still cool. And especially coming from someone who doesn't like some of the bigger rides or whatever. I do. That part is still so cool and fun and crazy and just enough time, I feel like. Probably, I'm sure some people feel like it could be longer, and maybe it could be, but I still enjoy it.
Yeah. So we're going to slowly wrap things up here on Theme Park Thursday with Dillo's Diz as Test Track celebrates its 25th anniversary officially this weekend. But again, that was more than Animal Kingdom for me. I feel like the biggest, one of the biggest things that opened during my time as a cast member. There's Animal Kingdom, but there's Fantasmic. People know how I feel about Fantasmic as well.
Mhm.
So Test Track really is probably the number one. I would have to Buzz Lightyear's Space Ranger spin, but again, Test Track is probably number one there on the list of the biggest and my most favorite thing that opened while I was a cast member at Walt Disney World. Don't forget, you can go over to DillosDizResort.com, click that join for free, get in on hashtag Dillos Madness as we continue to share our stories. Test Track, not part of the Dillos Madness, but we are sharing 32 of our stories over the next many weeks, and they will be pitted against one another. And I will say, as we announced over at DillosDizResort.com, we will, as we move to the round of 16 and the round of 8 and the round of 4, we will retell the stories in shortened form and try to get to the point of the story without the tangents.
Oh, or maybe more tangents. It could go either way, quite honestly.
It could go either way, but thanks for checking us out here wherever you're watching or listening to this live stream / podcast, wherever it may be. Make sure to like and follow us on all the things on the X Twitter, on the Facebooks, on the Instagrams. Is TikTok still around?
TikTok, I think as of right now.
Until next time, everybody, she's Jen, and I'm Frank. Bye-bye.
Deuces.